Hello, Professor Carlisle. How you doing? This is Venus Claybrooks in your class, Introduction to Dissertation. And this is the video I'm submitting for the benchmark assignment. And so I just want to start by saying it's been a pleasure being in your class, and thanks for pushing me to think outside the box with my discussion questions with the students. And this class have really been a eye opener. It really has helped me really almost think about the questions I thought I had for my topic of interest, and maybe narrowing it down to be more specific. And it's been a great class overall. I think it was a bit more than just introduction. It really gave a nice, great foundation on what a dissertation should look like and how it should be, especially with, having to fill out that aqua form. That really was an eye opener. And just to see, the time that this is going to take, to get the oral presentation, the dissertation, just all the information together. So thank you for that. And so I also end up just going ahead and doing the PowerPoint. So I'm going to include that in my submission for the benchmark assignment for MOL 8, just so you can have a clear understanding of the dissertation that I was using. So the dissertation is by Micah Dobson, and it's called Instructional and Non-Instructional Staff Perception on At-Risk Males in a Structured After-School Sports and Recreational Program, a qualitative case study. My undergrad is in Parks, Recreation, and Tourism through the Department of Education, and I've worked in parks and tourism for most of my life, theme parks, and also been a part of the recreational park since I was about in 4th grade. So it's kind of near and dear to my heart. And what I do professionally is I have 3 schools, and I run their before care and after care programs, all that non-instructional stuff for those schools. So anything that happens before school, after school, goes through me. And I'm also in charge of the parental engagement and student recruitment portion. So this is why, I've chosen to do my dissertation on, out of school time activities and how that affects, our students. This dissertation is a manuscript. It was submitted to the North Central University School of Education and partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of doctoral philosophy and education by Mr. Dobson. So the purpose of Mr. Dobson's study was, it's a qualitative study, as I mentioned before, and it was to explore how structured programs such as recreation, sports, leisure time, those type of activities in an elementary school setting could help at-risk youth in after-school programs. And he focused on grades K through 5. And like I said before, it was in North Central Carolina. The purpose of these after-school programs is to help restore positive behavior with students through sports and recreation activities involving sportsmanship and teamwork, and to provide academic support to help them succeed in the classroom. The study includes interviews of 10 participants who are actively working with the youth and identifies as at risk in the after school program. And in this study, 5 of the participants were like in school instructors. They already worked for the school, and the other 5 they came from an outside source. So so that's kind of how Dobson kind of balanced the study, I guess, so it didn't seem biased, and it was, everything was coming from the teachers that work in the school. That's similar to what I have in my 3 schools. We try to balance, most of our tutors and our core subjects, we like for them to come into the after school program, especially with math and ELA. And then we might bring out some outside people like the guys who, the football coaches and the band directors and, so on and so forth with the recreational part. So the assignment was to kind of give an overview. So that was the overview, and then to talk about the importance of different topics that it aligned. And so I won't be too long-winded because I could go on forever, but I want to keep it 10 to 12 minutes. It asked about the introduction, and basically, and I'm kind of looking at my tablet and my computer where I have my notes going back and forth. But the introduction basically was say from an organizational and social perspective. Elementary school at-risk youth are challenged to succeed in a classroom setting without adequate enrichment, recreation, and academic programs, and I can relate to that. And so what is important about an introduction and a dissertation is that it should capture the audience interest in the beginning, especially if this is something they're looking up, researching, or a field of study. It should give them context for the work that a person is, trying to do for the dissertation. Pose your central questions, problems, and issues, and offer the most concise answer or argument a person can give. And remember, this is an introduction, not a summary, which makes good sense. A summary is meant for the summary part, and the introduction is like, this is what you're about to get into when you start reading this dissertation. It kind of gives you snippets and pieces of what's going on, but the main thing is to capture like I said, capture their audience interest. But I'm thinking if somebody is reading this is a area of interest for them as well. So the next one was research questions or hypothesis. So this dissertation that I chose had 2 research questions, and the first one was, what are the perceptions of instructional and non-instructional staff, we talked about that, on the academic and behavior influence of a structural after-school program on at-risk males? And question number 2 was, what is the influence of mentoring on academic success and decreasing problematic behaviors when providing sports and recreation after-school programs for at-youth males? So that was the 2 questions. And what a question is, or the research question or hypothesis is, a research question is a sentence that that defines what you will be examining, basically, pretty much, within which population and what the outcome of interest would be. Defining a clear research question is the first and most important part of the project. So, like I said before, going through this course, it really has helped me even narrow down and define more of my research questions. Because I think mine was kind of broad, because I had about 3 or 4 things that I was thinking of, where this person is focusing on, the recreational activities. I wanted to find out how after-school programs can, help with student behavior, student academics, also in attendance. And now I think I just need to kind of narrow down the population and size and just the other stuff that goes with it. But that was my mindset. And do kids that come to after school programs, do they perform better in those categories that I said, from my own dissertation? Do they come to school more often? Are their attendance better if they participate in after school programs? Do they have better academics because they're getting the tutoring, and they're going to tutoring because they may want to go to football, so they know they have to get their grades up? And the other one is behavior. Does it curb negative behavior? And I'm going to do mine based out of, a charter network program in New Orleans. So the next one is methodology. So the main purpose of your thesis defense is for the committee to make sure that you actually understand your field of focus area. And that's what I was saying earlier. The questions are usually open-ended and requires the student to think critically about their work. Note that at the time of your thesis defense, your paper has already been evaluated. So the next one on the list talked about the results, and why is it necessary to discuss your results. It's very necessary. So it is important to discuss your results, because comparing and contrasting the findings of other studies help to support the overall importance of your results, and it highlights how and in what ways your studies different from other research topics, other research with the similar topic. Because at this point, when I'm doing my research, I'm trying to research something for knowledge and benefit that I can't find out there. Like I can't find in New Orleans, like anybody else that have done the research. Because if you know, Louisiana is on the bottom end of the totem pole when it comes to academics and education. I think it's Alabama, Mississippi, and then Louisiana. And so one of my things for my organization, I'm trying to see if we have after school programs, but is it making a difference? And if it is, how can we share that throughout all of Louisiana to start, getting our kids to, perform better academically, to come to school. Truancy is a big issue in New Orleans. And especially after a major hurricane, some of the kids, we just can't find them anymore. I mean, we don't know where they are. We don't know where they evacuated to. And then all of a sudden they may pop up. And we just want to know, like, if we still, like, when we come straight back and we pick back up where we left off and say, hey, we still have the after school programs. We still have, your tutoring. We still have the band. We still have football, basketball, cheerleading, dance, whatever. We want y'all to come back. We're open for business. We want the kids to succeed and, and be successful. Because that, will tell me the why. Like, is this why the kids are doing as good as they are? Or tell me, no, that's not really the case. And that's what the research is all about. Okay, so I got a minute left. So I'm trying not to go over. And then the last part of the assignment talked about the inclusion. But one thing I want to go back and say is that always remember, and this is what I really learned, which was really good, and I'm glad this was a part of our assignments, is maybe differentiating chapter 4 from chapter 5, the results and the conclusions, because I think you can get mixed up on that, or you can get long-winded in chapter 4 because you're trying to put everything out there instead of just sticking to the facts, and then some of that stuff can then become opinionated. Where chapter 5 is just talking about this is the conclusion of everything that we found. And so I think that was very important for me to learn, because I as I was reading, I could see how I would have got confused, especially if I don't have the best guidance, which I don't think Aspen is like that. I really have been having a good experience with Aspen this fall. But always remember that chapter 4 and chapter 5 are very different. So chapter 4 is basically your results. Now we're going to talk about the conclusion, which is chapter 5. So your conclusion, it reminds the readers of the strength of your main argument. Takes you almost back to the beginning. Why you wanted to do this research, in the first place. And reiterate the most important evidence supporting those arguments. Make sure, however, that your conclusion is not simply a repetitive, and a lot of people do that, repetitive of the summary of the findings, because this reduces the impact of the arguments you have developed in your essay. So, and back in the day, when we were first learning how to, write papers and stuff, they always say, oh, your summary and your conclusion is basically the same thing. But going through this course, I realized that it really is not. It is two different things. It might have some similarities, because you have to go back to where you started from and say, this is, why we started the research, and this is what we concluded on what we learned, because you wanted to learn something from the research, right? And like, you might wanted to try to, find something out, and it might be disappointing, or it might be like, voila, that's what I was thinking in my head the whole time. It's like, well, there's really not a big difference from students who attend after school programs based in compared to students who do not. You're hoping that your after school program is really helping those kids soar to the next level because they're getting a little extra, you know, that, and then, you know, they're not going home, they're not latchkey kids, they're not getting in trouble between the hours of, you know, 3 and 6. Where the kids that, you know, are latchkey kids are, you know, not getting the same kind of extra help. So you know, the finding is like, we really want your children to come to our after school program because we finding that the, you know, the after school program is really helping them academically. The kids want to come to school, they want to learn, their behavior is better. So and like in this study, you know, the results, the finding was basically there was really no big difference. The conclusion was like it just, you know, was that it just developed, it just went back to the main arguments to say this is what we, you know, started with and this is where we ended with. So that's my ending to this. And like I said once before, you know, thank you. I really learned a lot in this class. Really enjoy reading the discussions from the other students and hear what they had to say, and being able to answer your questions from the discussion as well. But it really opened my eyes about how much work is I'm gonna really, you know, have to start digging my feet into the ground and then moving forward. So thank you. I hope you have a great 4th of July. Hope to get you as a professor again. I've had some repetitive professors and it's been wonderful. Hope to get you again, and I wish you, you know, all the best of luck in what you're doing in your endeavors as well as a new professor.